Coronavirus is spreading infection, but is it also spreading racism?
Dirty scum, eating anything that moves, then spreading their dirty virus to everyone? This is why I don't eat Chinese food, you know?
There's more than 40,000 cases of coronavirus worldwide. It originated in Wuhan, China. But the pandemic is also bringing something else to the surface. A French newspaper just called the virus yellow peril. An Instagram post by the University of Berkeley casually mentioned xenophobia as a normal reaction to the panic. And then there are the racist incidents. In late January, a Chinese man collapsed in Sydney. Bystanders refused to perform CPR because of fears of catching the virus, and he died soon after. There are reports of Asian kids being bullied in Canadian schools and people of Asian descent being confronted on public transport in London. And there's been harassment of Chinese people in public spaces in New Zealand, a country where there aren't even any confirmed cases. In Australia, a man went to get tested for the virus after simply eating Chinese food. And closer to home, a lot of us have likely heard jokes mocking Chinese people and culture in the past few weeks. While some may argue that these reactions are just a result of fear and panic, Western notions that Asians are incompatible with the West, uncivilized, dirty, disgusting, disease carriers, and eat weird food have a long history. Some of it dates back to the coolie trade in the 1800s. Chinese laborers were conscripted by colonial powers and often suffered under squalid and unsanitary conditions, which of course led to inevitable outbreaks. So basically, colonialists kept Chinese people in conditions that made them sick and then stereotyped them as people who carried diseases. In the US, anti-Chinese sentiment peaked in the mid-19th century, leading to racial violence and a 62-year ban on Chinese immigrants. In 20th century Britain, tabloids, comics, novels, and newspapers perpetuated the idea of an other, the ruthless yellow man, trying to drive out the West and dominate the world with strange food, culture, and clothes. This attitude even made its way into Charles Dickens' books, which described China as a glory of yellow jaundice. And now, centuries later, headlines and jokes about coronavirus are continuing to fuel these racist tropes about Chinese people.
Hell no, to the no, 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 hell to the no, hell to the no, to the no, no, no.
It's prompted a backlash in France where the hashtag I am not a virus is trending. But a lot of the most racist stereotypes and jokes center around Chinese food. Trolls even went after this video of a blogger eating bat soup 3 years ago, which wasn't even taken in China. Coronavirus is believed to have originated from a seafood and wildlife market in Wuhan. Scientists think that bats or snakes could have been the initial carriers. And while it's true that wildlife markets do pose legitimate health concerns, some of these animals are only eaten by a minority in China. But it's led to a flood of racist tropes around what all Chinese people supposedly eat. Also, what we eat tends to be culturally relative. There have been previous outbreaks of swine and bird flu, but we haven't heard the same level of global objection over eating pigs and birds. Is this just because it's culturally acceptable in the West? The virus racism isn't just unpleasant. After the 2003 SARS outbreak, people of Asian descent in the West were reportedly evicted from homes, had job offers rescinded, and Chinese businesses suffered economic losses. And while coronavirus is a health emergency, so far it seems to have low fatality rates. Some people without compromised immune systems have actually recovered. In fact, if you live in the US, the common flu kills between 12 and 61,000 Americans each year, and is actually a much bigger threat than coronavirus. This doesn't underplay how serious the outbreak is in China, but it also certainly isn't an excuse for racism and fear-mongering.